I stood on the warped wooden porch of our trailer, the air thick with diesel and the sour aftertaste of another day I'd been expected to swallow. My father's voice cut through the evening like an axe. No rent, no roof. Pack your bags. The words didn't just hurt. They detonated something inside me. Years of small humiliations and quiet labor, stacked and sealed until that single sentence split the dam I'd kept built around my feelings. He nodded. I grabbed my jacket. I walked into the dusk without arguing, without begging, because I had nothing left to give them that would be mine. My name is Lucas Vaughn. I was 27 when I decided to torch the life they'd quietly grown around me. Quarrytown was the kind of place where days repeated themselves like tired machinery. Our double-wide sat on its lot like an afterthought. Mildew in the curtains, a lingering scent of motor oil, toys of small boys scattered like confetti. Morning meant my brother Derek's twin toddlers screaming for breakfast while he nursed a hangover and a cardboard excuse. Noon meant my mother's voice, brittle and constant, landing tasks at my feet. Fix the leaky roof, chop wood, take her to the clinic. Night meant my father lecturing me about wasted potential while flipping cards at the kitchen table. I was the family's invisible scaffold. When I tried to write a single sentence in my battered notebook or strum a chord on the guitar I'd kept from my teens, the house shifted. Crying kids to soothe, dishes to scrub, errands to run. They called it stepping up, called it drowning. That night on the porch, rain was a rumor on the horizon, and the trailers would creak like something tired. I read my family's faces once more. Mom picking at chipped nails, Derek with a cigarette and a smirk he practiced when he thought I'd fold, the twins kicking gravel without a care. They expected me to buckle. Instead, something in me broke loose. I turned, boots thudding on the steps, and drove away. The trailer blurred under my headlights, becoming a bad memory I refused to carry. By sunrise, I'd found a loft above a mechanic's shop in a neighboring mill town. Its windows were grimy, the couch sagged, but it was mine. For the first time in years, the air didn't smell of someone else's obligations. I unpacked a backpack, a dented thermos, a faded photo of myself at 18, laughing and unburdened, and set each item down like a tiny revolution. They reacted as I expected. Texts and calls stacked up into a wall of pressure. "You'll crawl back," Derek wrote. "You're a coward," his next message read. My parents called and left voicemails braided with blame and threat. I watched the messages without answering. I was done letting their words shape me. The first week in that loft felt holy. I worked extra shifts at the mill, the grind of saws and fresh-cut pine filling the silence that had once been occupied by other people's needs. I began to write again, page after page. Train tracks, barroom shadows, a lake at twilight. My pen cut new paths into me. For the first time, my life contained something I'd built for myself. But the family's tether hummed and tugged. A note taped to my door. My mother's uneven scrawl pleaded with me to come back. "Lucas, you're killing us. The twins need you." Rage rose up in me then, not from guilt, but from recognition. They didn't need me. They needed what I provided. Labor, stability, a man to stand in when they faltered. I replied once more, and with quietness that felt almost surgical. "I'm not your errand boy anymore. Find someone else." My pulse was steady. I was no longer operating on the frenetic energy of trying to keep everyone else afloat. Days later my world shifted again, this time by rumor. A co-worker at the mill, voice low over the clatter, told me Derek had lost his job, skipped shifts, left the twins with strangers. My parents had been covering his share of the rent. Their resources were stretched thin. In other words, for years I had been the spine of their life. My absence made the whole thing wobble. Hurt arrived on paper a few nights later. A letter from Derek, jagged and raw. "I'm sorry. I didn't see how much you held up until you left. I'm breaking. Please come back." I read those words and felt tears prick at my eyes, not because I suddenly wanted to return to my old life, but because for years I'd been invisible and now, suddenly, I mattered to them. Only because they had lost the thing I'd been giving. That realization was a crossroad. Did they love me, or the safety net I'd become? The answer didn't come from them. It came from the quiet in my loft, the steady mechanical rhythm of my new shifts, the notes on the wall where I pinned my writing. I had left not because I hated them, but because I needed to know who I was without being the household's unpaid laborer. My father came once, his pickup's headlights slicing through my window. He paced the doorway and told me I was shaming the family, that people in town were talking. I looked at him and said simply, "Maybe they're talking because you never saw me." He had no reply, only a parting warning. "You'll pay for this." He drove away, his taillights swallowed by the night. They kept calling in waves. Derek's messages shifted between desperation and venom. Mom's voice on my phone splintered into pleading. The twins cried for me at night and I thought of them. Always I thought of the children because caring for them had been the one thing that made the obligation feel like purpose. But the feeling that had corroded me for years was not about love. It was about being taken for granted, about a life built on my quiet sacrifice. So I stayed. I worked. I wrote. I let the mill's machines become the metronome that kept me steady. I answered when I could. But I refused to be the automatic fix for problems that were not mine to carry alone. Time gave me the best kind of answer, perspective. When Derek finally wrote that jagged apology, it broke something in both of us. Not because it demanded my return, but because it admitted a fault none of them had named when I was still there. They had leaned on me until I was indistinguishable from their needs. Now, sitting at my small table with a lamp that casts a soft circle of light over my pages, I think about names. For years I had been Lucas in body but utility in function. When I left, I learned that names are more than labels. They're ownership when someone else insists on defining your worth for you. Reclaiming my name has meant small, stubborn acts. Refusing to answer at certain hours, saying no to tasks that used to come first, writing when I want to and not when I have a spare minute or two. I am not heartless. I know my leaving hurt them. But I also know I was being consumed slowly, like a wick burning down a candle until only smoke remained. Walking away didn't make me cruel. It made me available to myself for the first time. If I could ask you one thing, it would be this. Look at the people in your life who claim you as family. Notice whether they love you for who you are or for what you carry. Are you seen or are you useful? There's courage in staying and there's courage in leaving. Both are valid. What matters is that the choice is yours. I still wonder about them sometimes. I wonder if Derek will find steadiness, if my parents will learn to ask for help instead of leaning on a single person. But mostly I wonder what I will become if I keep writing, if I keep choosing pockets of quiet and labor that feed me rather than empty me. Quarrytown is still out there, smelling of diesel and the small miracles of daily life. But my nights belong to me now, to lamplight and pages, to a soundtrack that isn't someone else's demands. I left what I had been expected to carry, and in the space it created I found the shape of a life I had a say in. If the people who call themselves blood only want the burden you bear, the question becomes clear. Will you keep carrying, or will you finally put down the weight and see what you look like unburdened?
Thanks for watching PastQuest. If you enjoyed the journey into history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories from the past. See you in the next quest.